with David Helgason and Jussi Laakkonen. David is co-founder of Unity, and Jussi was a founder of Amplifier and now in charge of Unity Ads. Is that correct? Very good. Okay, do we have our fire? Whoa, can that notes, thanks David. Yeah. Don't get too close. There's a round of applause and fire. So, okay. Cool, I'm going to ask you, I'm sure I have no control of this interview whatsoever, so I'm going to start with a couple of questions and then we'll go a bit mad. So I think the first one to kick off with, like, Unity, you made a decision to kind of go free, at least have the personal edition this year, which is quite a big deal for a tools company, makes money selling licenses. Can you tell me why you did that and what that means?
Sure. Hey, thanks for letting me be here. You can sort of slice that in different ways. We never thought of ourselves as being in the tools business. We've thought of ourselves as being in the democratization business, and we decided very early on that we would be a mission-driven company, and we would sort of force ourselves to always find ways of making the industry better. And it sounded a bit vacuous back in the basement, but we actually stuck with it very kind of firmly. And some wise person once said that kind of a mission statement, is sort of the value of a mission statement is sort of measured in the quality of decisions it helps you make. So ever since the beginning, we were always searching for ways, not just of making the tools better, but also more available, easier to use, and so on. This led to kind of the ease of use and the polish and all that stuff. But also back in 2009, it led us to be the first engine to get a free tier. It was kind of a shitty tier. It was sort of you get the tools but not really kind of tier, which is pretty cool for that time. And then that sort of forced us to keep pushing in that direction. Like okay, we're not just here to make money from tools. We're actually here to somehow make more people use them. And it was amazing. Like that first time we went free, by the way, even though it was sort of a shitty tier. I mean, it wasn't that bad, but it was sort of feature limited. We had 13,000 people that we had sort of convinced, on our knees to use our tools over like 4.5 years. And then the day after, we had twice as many people.
Okay.
So that was kind of a clear message that there's something magical about that. And that kind of path led us to build the asset store and to really think about these things in a sort of broader perspective. Okay. So at some point, we came to a point where we knew that we had to go even further. We decided to give kind of the whole tool set away, not just this kind of shitty tier. But to get to that point, we had to work really hard and figure out ways of kind of surviving, because if you're a technologist, you know that the reason for all this business is just to make the technology work. And one very important step to do that was we had to find revenue streams outside of the tooling. We had a few already, actually. The asset store, we do we work with sort of really big companies where we give them support and so on. But the really important one was that we needed an ad network. Both because
skipping through the questions here. It's right.
No, but I mean, like, I didn't know that.
That's fine.
No, but I mean, like, so there's a few things, right? I mean, like, we felt that developers were not as well served by ad networks as we felt they should be. We felt there was something we could do with the scale of Unity. But then, it always comes down to people and the actual product, not just the theory of an ad network and something. And I was so lucky that I met Jussi. Like, I don't know, 6 years ago now?
2009.
Yeah, many years ago, and he was not doing ads back then. He was doing games, and I don't know. I sort of fell in love with him.
Oh my God! This could be a bigger story than we expected.
No, manly kind of way. No, I mean, we became friends, and I always thought very highly of him. I never thought I would work with him. I just thought he was an awesome guy, and he was sort of approximately as passionate as I was about the industry. In the meantime, he went and built an ad network, and it was a beautiful product, really well conceived. So over a time of like 5 months, I convinced him to
more like 7.
Was it
long? It was 7 months. August
August to January when we signed the MOU.
Don't bicker.
At that time.
I think I counted 5 months, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, to do MOI, but then
okay.
Let's get this 6 months.
On average 6 months. Over an average of 6 months, I convinced Jussi to join Unity with this.
You know, we were doing too well. You know, had to up the price.
It was an expensive deal, but well worth it. So with that kind of, you know, as part of Unity, we knew we could be more aggressive with the tools. So yes, I mean it's sort of an obvious calculation, but it also kind of was very logical, like even from the very early days of Unity.
And I think overall, if you look at it for us, it was an obvious thing to do. Like all joking aside, the price. This was a company that I respected, that had principles, but also really awesome people. And if you look at like Amplifier, it was a small company out of Finland. Like, who are these guys? Are they going to go out of business and limited resources and all that? And I think the business, both with ads and Everyplay, has really blossomed after joining Unity, because credibility is really important in this business. It's who you are, what you stand for, are you trustworthy? And there are so many ad networks out there that unfortunately you cannot really call trustworthy. At least a percentage.
Did you see Eric's talk yesterday? Did you see Eric's picture last night?
I did not, but
I have to show you a video about that.
Absolutely.
Why?
Ad Networks 101. It was a slightly tongue-in-cheek guide to being an ad network. I think you'd appreciate it.
And I think the things that we're now working on, we announced the Unity 5.2 ads is going to be a pre-integrated engine. If you want to use it, there's no SDK, and just go with it. That kind of things are really going to be about simplifying, making sure that the tooling is great, and going forward, more and more thinking about how to make it easy for game developers to ensure optimal revenue, whether that be in-app or ad revenue. There's a lot to be done in here, and many developers don't really want to do it themselves because it's complex.
Okay. Guys, quick show of hands. So how many people here are already developing games with Unity? Anybody here making games with Unity? There's some customers out there. Okay, fantastic. That's good. You've got a few. Anybody making games without Unity?
The rest of journalists.
The rest of the looking for a story. So talking about, obviously we're at a mobile games conference. Obviously, you know, Unity was founded before mobile games was the thing it is now. What would you say? What sort of, you know, how big is mobile for Unity? How big was it, and how big is it now in terms of your developer base?
It's a really good question. Like when Unity was conceived, I think there was only Snake back then, and you know that was not written in an engine as far as I could tell. So we never thought of Unity as a mobile engine, right? I mean, we started on Mac actually. So for a while it was like the Mac engine, and then it was like the sort of whatever engine, and then it was you know, actually also the Wii, the Nintendo Wii engine. You know, no jokes on that. And then the iPhone came along, right? And we're like, oh, that's really interesting. That's an open or openish platform. You know, it fit well with our kind of experience with operating systems and hardware and so on. Actually, doing the Nintendo Wii version was like really instrumental because we've pressured Unity into a device that eventually was basically matched by the sort of second iPhone. Like the second iPhone was like similar power to the fucking the bloody Wii.
That's it.
No, it's cool, right?
I think that's a new trademark. The bloody Wii.
It's pretty cool. Anyway, so that was the thing, and it grew very fast. And for a while, we were sort of known as the iPhone engine. We never thought of that actually. We always believed we were a multi-platform engine to really kind of help developers move to the platforms that were important. It just so happened that the iPhone was like the most important platform for a couple of years, or many years. And actually, I think we could have let go of the cross-platformness and just gone sort of iPhone only, and then maybe Android later. And we might have done okay as a business, probably really well. But we always felt that that's not how game developers think. I mean, they're not. Yes, there are people that are like mobile-only developers, but we see a lot of people move from PC, from console, and there's flexibility that I'm so proud that we've been able to create. By the way, it's like freaking like 30 times harder to support all these platforms than just two. So that means we have this massive QA division. It's like, I don't know, it seems on certain days it seems to be a third of the company. I don't think it quite is, but it's close enough. Doing all the sort of automation and the testing and all this stuff to make it work. But it was really important. Now, mobile did go and become like 70% of our revenue for a while. and it's hard to break out because of how we sell Unity and so on. But it's a lot. It's really important. I'm not going to hide that. And of course, it's wonderful to have one thing that you just claim as your own. Like nobody's as good as we are there. So that's been helpful. But now, I mean, again, if we define ourselves as a sort of a mobile engine, we would not be looking in the same way as we are at VR and AR and sort of the road ahead.
We'll come on to that in a minute. I'm gonna get Jussi, because I know Jussi's very
well. Jussi cares slightly more about mobile than I do.
He's very timid, doesn't like to talk.
But that's good because it creates a wonderful dynamic.
I want to ask you, Jussi, because when I kind of first met you, we looked at Amplify. You were more kind of it was more about a service for sharing videos, sharing gameplay videos. It was more of a community service. Still is. Okay, still is. And obviously we're seeing things like sort of Twitch get traction in that sort of space. Mob Crash has launched recently, as you pointed out, it's raised investment, but maybe the engagement's not massive yet. But there's a few, I think DNA announced some sort of sharing service. So, I mean, is there, obviously you guys kind of put a little bit of the video ads became a really big part of what you do, and I imagine paying revenue. So, is the community video sharing still something you're in? Is it something you're going to do more with?
Absolutely. So, ads is getting a lot of attention because it's a substantial revenue stream for developers. It's grown very explosively, I would say. I think we are the number 2 player in the global market after AdColony, and we're guys we're chasing them, and it's a good competition to have. But I think fundamentally, when you look at the mobile gaming market, the number 1 problem game developers have is discovery. Getting found, getting an audience, connecting with that audience, and that is my hair is on fire problem for a lot of developers. And if you look at the concentration of revenue and the kind of stratification that's happening, it's basically a logarithmic curve with the big taking the bulk of it and being able to invest into user acquisition more heavily than anybody else. And I think overall our take was that community-powered video sharing could be a disruptive force on that in order to drive discovery. Now, I still very much believe in social, I believe in people, and I believe tastemakers and celebrities and just common people will be the driving force of discovery going forward. And if you look at the studies from EDAR, and we've done our studies also, there are basically 2 things that matter to mainstream users for game discovery. One is what's features and what's on the top chart. The second is word of mouth. And they're roughly evenly rated as the most often used sources. So my friend tells me, I see what my friends play, or I go to the App Store and look at what's featured. So that's pretty much the only channel that remains, in a sense, undertapped, underdeveloped. And I really believe that can be developed further. So while many of you will interact with me in the ads format, saying one time I'm the arms dealer fueling the user acquisition race. On the other hand, I'm the freedom fighter trying to think of ways to create new channels of discovery and engagement. And we definitely,
and we're not going to give that up. I mean, we care so intensely about it.
And it is really, when you look at our developer base, it is a fundamentally really important problem to tackle. And it's not a problem you can go directly after. And I really respect the platform companies creating app stores, and there are certain restrictions take place around that. And those are absolutely the things you play by. But what remains really social. Like I'm really interested in what you play, because maybe it's a drunken game that you play every time you're in a conference, like it's called Professional Alcoholic. It's like a management sim for employees of Steel Media. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's interesting, and I'd love to see what you're playing. So I trust people. I trust what the people I like, people I play with. I trust them, and I think there's a really undertapped opportunity, which, frankly, you look at Facebook, that was a place where social gaming exploded, and it was a really powerful mechanism, all spam aside. But nowadays, the only thing Facebook's interested is taking your UA dollars. So I don't think there's a lot of innovation in that space. I think there's a lot to be done here. There.
So we can expect to see more innovation from you guys in that space?
Yes.
Good answer. Just because the question's obviously relevant to both of you. Like, I think one thing that's kind of clear right now, and Rami sort of set the tone when Rami from Israel from Vamba yesterday, is it's tough for indie developers, especially in the mobile game scene right now. There's the big guys, big money, making big money, spending big money. But for indies, obviously discovery is the main thing. But like, What advice would you offer kind of indie developers in the mobile game space right now?
Right now, I think going against the grain is probably one of the biggest strategies. Finding a niche and exploiting that. If you want to be in the next Clash of Clans, or you want to be the next Game of War, or whatever it is that's on top of charts, it doesn't really work. Now, if you look at things like that are actually exploded and outside of the Western markets, and especially in Japan, you look at things like Puzzle and Dragons kind of came out of nowhere, and it's not really a typical game that existed before. You look at Monster Strike, again, a game that didn't really exist on that typical format. You look at Colopos games. These are actually very different experiences that we currently have on the top charts. So I personally believe there's more.
Just to distill what you're saying, like every big hit seems to be completely different from the previous big hit, right?
Yeah, and then what happens, they get slightly calcified because there's enough money to support those. And I think the biggest problem may be that even if you find a niche, that the innovation, you may get copied, cloned by people with a lot of resources. But maybe it happens a little less than having social gaming. You know, you have Zynga and a lot of cloning going on. But I think that's right now the sensible strategy. You look at Steam and other places; they're also getting pretty full of content. And there's an explosion of content, which I think partly Unity is to thank for. It's easier than ever to make a game.
Thank
Unity.
We're really proud of it.
It is about helping people realize the dream of making their ideal game. Yeah. So obviously, democratization means more people can use the tools. But finding a niche and really becoming excellent in that niche is probably this way to go.
You mentioned kind of Steam, and one of my questions is, I see a lot more developers, partly out of necessity, partly out of kind of trying to do something different. We're going cross-platform, we're using things like Steam almost as part of a marketing push to get a bit of an audience, because they perceive it to be easier, whether it is or not, before they launch a mobile game. Do you see that happening a lot? Do you see that as a growing trend? I mean, obviously you guys are enabling that.
We do believe in cross-platform.
No, absolutely, and we see it all the time. I mean, people launch their games on multiple platforms, and it's not always the first platform that is a successful one. We've seen both ways, actually. Pretty good games didn't quite get traction on mobile, went to Steam, got a lot of traction and good money and enough cash to do something new. Absolutely.
I think the other advice I would give is look at companies that have innovated around raising brand awareness. I think seriously has done a fantastic job with Best Fiends, which is not a typical path. Obviously, we talked about social discovery, and in that way, you have YouTubers and other people. They're getting more and more exploited nowadays. Exploited is the wrong word. More attracted to paid.
I think exploited is possibly not the wrong word, but still. I think there's a lot of every ad company I've seen recently has a YouTube influencer network now, which is.
It's almost tried to say, but I mean, every product that we see be successful has some amazing, kind of outside the great feature. Some clarity of vision, some clarity of brand, some clarity of gameplay, and then maybe they're not great at everything because these are often small teams. So I mean, when people ask me what's the advice, it's just to be fucking good at one thing.
Okay, be fucking good at one thing. There's your quote headline. There we go. Okay. I guess I'm going to talk about that VR in a second. But one thing I want to ask, so mobile games industry, there's a few different opinions at the moment. A few people saying, it's kind of reached a level where it's obviously massive, but it's that growth isn't going to continue hockey sticking anymore. And then you've got people like Neil Young, who gave a talk earlier this year, where he thinks there's, he believes there's a heck of a lot of growth left. He thinks we could be talking about $10 billion mobile games in the next year or so. What's your kind of take in the mobile market and how much growth there is left in it, where it's going to go?
What's your analysis there? I thought a lot about. Well, I mean, every sort of technology seems to sort of it gets adopted on some kind of S curve, right? I mean, there's this path, and I've been thinking a lot about where we are in that. But what's your take?
I think we are still growing very rapidly. I think this year, next year, 2017 will be strong growth years. 2018, I'm not that clear on. I think the certification in the mobile games industry is really the primary problem. It's the big get bigger and the small get smaller, so that needs to be tackled. But overall, I think the top line numbers will continue to grow very rapidly. I think there is an interesting opportunity, specifically in advertising, to bring in brand advertising. I think time spent in mobile games will lead to ad spend in mobile games, and I think that will be an interesting monetization vector. If I were to start a game company today, what I would do, I would pick Unity because I would want to hedge my options, just in case I have the right product with the wrong market. But I think mobile still remains open, still remains something you can achieve, but you have to go down kind of unconventional path. Can you still create $1 billion business? That I don't believe in anymore. But can you create a successful business into tens of millions? Yes.
You've got people like Crossy Road. I mean, I presumably didn't have a massive kind of budget and massive investment before and obviously a success story for Unity Ads.
It was 2 to 3 guys, right?
Yeah, it was 2 to 3 guys, 6 weeks per remote, probably from finish to start.
I heard 12, but maybe it was 6.
You took your dates. You
something thereabouts, like whatever makes a bit of
anyway, very small amount of effort.
Okay, but again, there it was visual style, cool gameplay, and then the feature really took it off. But then the feature stopped, but the game still continued going. And again, what were they fucking good at? It was just this, you're going to stop talking about this game, it was fun, it was addictive, it was well designed, and it really was polished. And that kept you going. It wasn't Apple feature is going to last a week, and then what happens since is really up to you.
And there was a level of stupidity in it, which I think is actually
silliness, I would say.
Yeah, but stupidity, because it was so clearly dumb. Like it was, you knew it was stupid because you couldn't actually do anything in this game, right? You could only die. Which is kind of
funny.
No, I think I mean there's many features of gameplay, but I think stupidity is like undervalued.
So be fucking good at something and have stupidity. Those are two useful things.
I'm not saying every game has to have stupidity, but it's a feature that you can really focus on. Like I mean, Surgeon Simulator is like the sort of high point.
That's true. Yeah. Bosses. Okay, so segueing away from moments for a second.
Kerbal Space Program has a very high level of stupidity on top of being the most like advanced space game in the world.
Fair enough. Okay, stupidity is a good factor. So moving on to kind of VR. VR's the thing everyone's very excited about as the next big thing. Someone's saying, oh, it's going to be the new mobile. Someone's saying it's going to be it's going to be a complete flop. Someone's there's a lot of money flowing into it. Certainly, you can see the shows already. What's your take? I mean, how important is VR going to be for Unity, and where do you think it's going to go?
So we don't know, right? I mean, we debated this at length. Like us two, the rest of Unity, leaders and engineers and everyone actually, and all my friends are either doing crazy stuff in VR or thinking about doing crazy stuff in VR, which sort of it's a certain level of madness almost.
The stupidity factor.
I don't know if maybe. Well, I don't know if it counts there. No, but I mean one way of seeing it is that it's like the final screen. It's like we have different screen sizes. But this, if it works, it's like the final last, frame, and therefore bigger than anything else if it works, which I think is why people are kind of going nuts over it. And the experiences that are being created now are very compelling. And I recently, we recently saw some sort of fresh off the press demos of some VR stuff that were just mind blowing and really showed a path to where, it becomes like a really kind of entrenched part of our lives. Not as a novelty, not as a cute thing, but a real deep part of our lives. Whether it works and when it works, still a bit too TBD in my view.
So we're definitely not yet on the steep part of this curve in terms of market adoption or revenue specifically. Revenue will lag for multiple years because it's an early adopter market. We were talking about millions of units, not tens of hundreds of millions of units. So it's going to be very small still. But I think now there's a chance to define experiences, explore the frontier, and that's super exciting for game developers. So we are big believers in VR. We have a great relationship with, for example, Oculus. We have direct Oculus support in the engine, and I think it will be an area where we continue to invest in. I think we need to be where game developers go, and this is a clearly space where developers are going, and we need to be really good at supporting them and helping them create and realize the killer apps for your VR.
I've got one last question from my side, and it's skipping back to mobile a little bit, but I guess to VR and games generally. We're here in Helsinki. There's an amazing amount of successful studios here. Obviously, you guys, Denmark, Unity's come out there. There's lots of good studios there. I was in Copenhagen recently, and Sweden as well. Done relatively well. Why are the Nordics so successful? What is it that makes these countries so successful in games and mobile games, especially? Do you think?
I think there are a number of factors. You could trace the Finnish game industry pretty much to the demo scene. That's one factor. I was happily involved with that and really thankful for that opportunity. But I think for mobile gaming specifically, I think we made the mistakes early. We got Riot E on WAP games back in the day. You had a lot of companies who dabbled in, and we had Ericsson in Sweden and Nokia here. Kind of the whole mobile revolution sort of started here. So I think a lot of people have been thinking about this. And if you look at Supercell, it's not a out of the blue success. Ilkka and the crew started Sumea back in early 2000s, then merged with Digital Chocolate. They are basically their third rodeo, if you will. Yeah. So
they've done quite well, haven't they?
They've done, yeah, fairly well, I would say. You look at King, and I think a lot of those guys also have a mobile background before King.
King is like the other rodeo in the sense that they were building like tons of games that were sort of just okay.
Semi-successful. They were a skill games company. Nobody really remembers that. I remember the guys who Connects, and they were like, "What is this company called King?" And they have this website, and you can bet money on games. And it's like, "What is this?"
I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going anywhere.
So I think
I'm a great predictor of success in the game companies.
Overall, I think like early to the market, making mistakes early, strong kind of. And what happened with mobile is it actually supported small teams to start with. So you didn't need to have that much capital. You could learn, you could make mistakes, and go at it. So those kind of things I think factor background, early into the market, small teams, and experience in the market.
Okay, brilliant. I think we started late with everyone a little bit. We don't have any time for questions? No, okay, we've been told not. But so, well, you can find David, they don't mind it being asked questions, so you can grab those guys afterwards. Can I have a big round of applause, please, for my prize side guys? Thank you very much. Thanks for coming along. Cool. I'm now